Karen Reed is on trial for the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. She is being accused of hitting O'Keefe with her SUV back in 2022, but her lawyer argues she's being framed in a police cover-up. She is now being retried after the first trial resulted in a mistrial. The Karen Reed case has garnered significant controversy due to the complex and conflicting narratives surrounding O'Keefe's death. Multiple party attendees were suspected of having roles in the events surrounding his death, and the involvement of these individuals complicated the case and contributed to reasonable doubt. Let's take a look at some key players. Jennifer McCabe. Jennifer McCabe was involved in the search for John after Karen Reed came to her home searching for him. McCabe testified that Reed came to her home screaming and frantic, asking for help to find John. They drove to 34 Fairview Road with Reed directing them. Upon arriving, Reed, according to McCabe, bolted from the car and ran towards O'Keefe's body. She straddled him, lifted his shirt, and then laid on top of him screaming, "Is he dead?" McCabe stated that Reed was yelling and acting erratically at the scene. She also mentioned that Reed repeatedly said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." McCabe testified that Reed was Googling information about hypothermia and how long it takes to die in the cold while they were in the police cruiser. During cross-examination, defense attorney Alan Jackson questioned witness Jennifer McCabe about calls she made to John O'Keefe in the early morning hours of January 29th, around the time prosecutors say O'Keefe was fatally injured. Phone records showed McCabe deleted all those calls from her phone, which she acknowledged but denied intentionally erasing her call log before handing her phone over to police. McCabe had testified earlier that she was drinking with family and friends at a bar when O'Keefe and Karen Reed joined them. Afterward, McCabe's sister and brother-in-law invited the group back to their home, where prosecutors allege Reed struck O'Keefe with her SUV and left him outside to die. The defense argues Reed was framed in a conspiracy involving law enforcement, claiming McCabe played a central role in covering up the truth. Brian Albert. Brian Albert is a retired Boston police sergeant who played a significant role in the Karen Reed murder trial due to his ownership of the home where O'Keefe's body was found. The defense had suggested that O'Keefe may have been assaulted inside Albert's residence before being left outside to die, challenging the prosecution's theory that Reed struck him with her SUV. Brian Albert had testified that he met John O'Keefe only a couple times before the night in question. He recalled that O'Keefe and Karen Reed joined the group at a bar, and later an open invitation was extended to continue the gathering at Albert's home. However, Albert stated that O'Keefe and Reed never entered his house that night. He mentioned that his nephew Colin Albert briefly visited but left within 5 minutes. Albert did not observe any unusual activity or hear any disturbance during the evening. He was later awakened early the next morning by Jennifer McCabe, who informed him that O'Keefe was dead. Albert did not go outside to check on O'Keefe as he did not want to interfere with the ongoing police investigation. The defense proposed an alternative scenario. They suggested that O'Keefe was assaulted inside Albert's home and then left outside. They have questioned Albert about the possibility of a cover-up involving law enforcement personnel and have suggested that Albert's ties to the police department could have influenced the investigation. Albert's testimony has been pivotal in the trial, providing insight into the events of that night and offering a perspective that challenges the prosecution's narrative. His statements have been scrutinized by both the prosecution and defense, highlighting the complexities of the case. Colin Albert. Colin Albert is the nephew of Brian Albert and is a central figure in the Karen Reed murder trial. Colin testified that he was drinking beer at a friend's house before going to 34 Fairview Road to celebrate his cousin's birthday. He said he spent about 90 minutes there before leaving around 12:10 a.m. and did not see John O'Keefe that night. During cross-examination, the defense presented a photograph of Albert with bruised knuckles, suggesting a possible connection to a fight. Albert explained that the injuries occurred when he'd slipped on a driveway. Albert acknowledged knowing Trooper Michael Proctor, the lead investigator in the case, through family ties. The defense questioned whether these connections influenced the investigation. Albert's testimony has been pivotal, with the defense attempting to link him to the events leading to O'Keefe's death. His statements have been scrutinized to assess his credibility and the relevance to the case. Brian Higgins is a federal agent with ATF and a friend of Brian Albert's. Higgins was present at the after-party at the Alberts' home. Higgins became a focal point in the defense's theory that someone other than Karen Reed was responsible for O'Keefe's death. The defense suggested that Higgins, along with 2 other men, could have been involved in a confrontation with O'Keefe that led to his death. They also alleged that Higgins destroyed his phone to eliminate evidence. During his testimony, Higgins acknowledged exchanging flirtatious text messages with Reed and sharing a kiss with her weeks before O'Keefe's death. He stated that he considered both O'Keefe and Reed friends. Higgins also confirmed that he disposed of his phone at a military base in July of 2022 after learning that his personal phone number had been posted online. He did not consult with law enforcement before discarding the device. The defense questioned Higgins about his actions and phone records in the critical hours following O'Keefe's death. They highlighted a 22-second phone call between Higgins and Albert at 2:22 a.m. on the morning O'Keefe died. Albert claimed it was an accidental butt dial, but the defense suggested that Higgins may have been involved in a confrontation with O'Keefe that led to his death. Higgins' testimony and the defense's allegations have been central to the trial, as they challenged the prosecution's narrative that Reed was solely responsible for O'Keefe's death. Michael Proctor was the lead investigator in the Karen Reed case. His involvement became highly controversial due to his conduct during the investigation and the trial. During the trial, Proctor's text messages were introduced as evidence. These messages including derogatory remarks about Reed, such as calling her a whack job and expressing a hope that she would kill herself. Proctor admitted that these messages were unprofessional and regrettable. Following the mistrial in July of 2024, the state police relieved him of duty and transferred him out of the district. An internal affairs investigation into his conduct was initiated, and he was later suspended without pay. His actions have been a focal point in the case, with the defense arguing that his bias and misconduct compromised the integrity of the investigation. His involvement has significantly impacted public perception of the case. The actions and testimony of these key players will inevitably impact the outcome of this trial. The jury is now in deliberation, and we are eagerly awaiting the verdict. Hopefully, there will be justice for John O'Keefe.